Welcome back to another episode of the Web3 Insights podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined again by Nibras Stiebar-Bang, who is the co-founder of HikmaAI. HikmaAI is a pioneering platform built around responsible AI. At a time when AI adoption is exploding, HikmaAI is helping organizations ensure that their AI systems are secure, compliant, and trusted by design. Nibras has a fascinating background across data, product, and leadership. And today we're going to be diving into how, why, and what of the building of the AI platforms with integrity at their core. So Nibras, thank you so much for coming back on again.
Thank you, Aaron, for having me. Always
Absolutely.
fun having these calls.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. I'd love to begin with, what led you to co-founding HikmaAI. What were you seeing in the market that made it clear that this needed to exist?
So it all started with, me and my co-founder Maru, we started talking about, we both believe that AI is going to be one of the biggest technologies we've ever witnessed in human history. It will impact us in ways we've never seen before. And it will touch, I honestly think it will be bigger than the internet. So what led us to start HikmaAI was that we also saw the need and a gap that in order for AI to really become something that especially big enterprises can use, you have to also understand what it does. And how we look at AI is like an employee. And I think that's the mindset you need to have, because you also saw this MIT study a couple of weeks ago stating that 95% of pilot or POCs end up not happening in production. And I don't think that article was correct, because I don't think it addressed the need of the gap that we are solving with HikmaAI, which is how do you make sure to think about setting up the structure in the beginning so you can then become AI driven and also trust the AI you're deploying into your systems. So, I mean, Aaron, you work in recruiting. I have been in leadership for so long. When we hire someone, as you know, there's a state that, like we always say, what is we're looking for. And then once the person joins, as leaders, we always evaluate that. Also, if it's a big system that we bring in. So that's what we need to do with our AI. We need to look at them as employees, and then we need to evaluate them throughout the journey that they are in production. And then we also need to allow everyone in the company to start using it. And that was the gap we saw. Because if you look at big corporates, they are a little struggling with getting AI adoption, as in getting their employees to use it, because they're not opening up the usage in the best way or more agile way, you could say.
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes complete sense. For those that are unfamiliar, what exactly is HikmaAI? Can you give us the elevator pitch? What problem are you solving and who are you solving it for?
Yeah, definitely. So HikmaAI, we are the responsible AI platform that lets you continuously secure, evaluate, and also assess your AI agents continuously. So what that means is before and after deployment. And the gap that we saw, so we've interviewed a lot of people a lot of leaders in the space when we started HikmaAI, and one of the things that we noticed was there's a pattern. So about 70% of executive leaders out there in big corporates. So we're not really talking big tech, but we're talking like industry corporate enterprises. They want to use AI, and it's becoming this challenge for them that they want to scale it faster, but they can't because they don't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about trust, what they're noticing is that they're getting a little like they take a back seat because they hear things such as Palo Alto Research, about 90% of AI agents leak data. So there's a security threat out there. And this study has actually also been confirmed by other studies. And what happens is when you ask AI agent, as you know, when you ask them one thing, they could say, I'm not allowed to answer this, but then you can go around it in very easy ways. You also have compliance issues coming in fast. So you have EU AI Act in Europe where I sit and operate, but you actually have regulations coming in all globally. So Texas also brought something in that's similar to EU AI Act. You have America looking at it. You have MENA, where we also operate a lot, having a lot of regulations, and you also have Asia looking at it. So that's something that companies are struggling to figure out. How do we keep pace of all the compliance that's coming in place with the speed? Another thing that we talk about when it comes to compliance is actually not just law and regulations. Another thing that's very obvious that's becoming a big problem is all the regulations you have in your industry and internal to you. So going back to AI being an employee, when you get a contract, you've got a job, you actually get a contract, right? And in that it states this is the rule book for our company. And that's also becoming a struggle for companies to understand how do we implement this rule book for AI so they can follow the internal rules that we have for our either industry or just for us as a company, our brand, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another thing about compliance that is a struggle for them. And then the third one that's also stressing them is if I bring in an AI agent that's costing me $50,000 to $100,000 a year, which is the cost that you're paying for some of these agents, how do I know that's actually solving the problem I wanted to solve and also following the compliance that I have internally? And how do I know that it's doing it efficient enough? And all these three are leading to issues for companies that is, it's so much uncertainty. So if it's not brand damage, it is a risk of getting too high fines. And that's what we solve. So how we do it in HikmaAI is we continuously evaluate agents that are either before or after deployment. And then we give you a really detailed report of your agents, and we look at 3 core pillars. So we have security, compliance, and efficiency. If we look at security, we do a multi-model attack. So that means that we also look at not just text-based LLMs. So Maru, my co-founder, he has an extensive background in security. He noticed there's a gap in the market, and that is that most evaluation tools only look at text-based LLMs, while they're missing the fact that you also have images, video, and audio. So we look at that. And when it comes to compliance, we allow companies, so by default, we add in the law and regulations for the country you operate in or where you're operating in the world. And then we also allow companies to upload in a very easy manner their own compliance, so internal compliance to them. And that's evaluated throughout all their agents. We also allow them to add in compliance on an agent level. So it could be, for instance, marketing. We're doing this brand for 1 quarter. We have a brand content agent. I want to make sure that it actually doesn't use the wrong colors when we push things out on social. So that could be like an agent level, like compliance document that you add in. And then we have efficiency. So if you look at it, security and compliance is black and white for companies. If you're not secure and you're not compliant, I cannot really care if you're efficient or not as an agent because I cannot use you in production. But then the other thing that is really important for companies is this solving the issue I am asking it to do, or is it hallucinating, or does it have too much bias? Yeah. And there we also look at it, and we allow companies to add in their KPI. So what is this agent supposed to do, and how is it supposed to do it? And then we attack it and see, does it do it in an efficient way or not? Because it's a cost issue. Like if it has to call 800 like data points, it's going to be too much of a cost for a company. When we can go in and tell that this agent could actually have been done in an easier manner, so it's a cost reduction. That's great for the company to get. And as I mentioned, we do like a report, and then we break it down with remediation as well. So if you have a critical finding, we tell you that these are the critical findings, and then we also break it down in how you go about it and how we found the problem. So what did we as in our agent, what did we attack your agent with, and what's the response we got back? So that's what we've built, and we've also built our agents. So we are an agentic platform. Amazing.
Yeah, I think compliance with the tech forever evolving, and at a rapid pace as well. Compliance is obviously key in that, and we'll dig into that a little bit more later on. You use the term responsible AI. What does that mean to you, and how is that different from what we see elsewhere in the market at the moment?
So for me, responsible AI is actually a term that Google came up with. So we didn't come up with that, but when we developed HikmaAI, we, of course, as all startup, have gone through a lot of slogans. So the first slogan was, we make you AI driven, because that's what our tool does. At the end of the day, we make sure that because you can trust and you have trust by design, you can then scale your AI efforts in the organization so you can become AI driven. And then when we looked at the pillars that we really stand by, which is security, compliance, and efficiency, those all go in line with responsible AI. So responsible AI is really, how do you make sure that you, as an agent creator or as a company, actually build trustworthy agents? And what that means is that they are secure by design, they are compliant as well, so they follow rules and regulations, and they're efficient, so they don't have bias, they don't hallucinate, and you get the answer you actually are looking for, which then leads to trustworthy. So you get that trust. And that's why one day I just woke up, I was like, we should have responsible AI, because that's exactly what we are. I think the term is getting more adoption, and it is because Google is using it a lot and also talking about it a lot. And I think it's extremely important to think about that aspect. And your question about how it makes us different is, I see a lot of people talking about agent security. I think we've all heard really good like scientists, but also advocates in AI talking about we need security in AI. I totally agree with that, but I think they're missing also the other aspects, which is efficiency in such a sense, is it has the bias or not. I think that one is super important, and hallucination, and also compliance, which I don't hear as much talked about. So you have a lot of like podcasters going out talking about that we need security by design. If we don't do this now, this is going to become a problem. Agree to that, but I also would not neglect all other aspects. One of the questions we got is, isn't it too much to focus on all three aspects? And both me and Maru see it as, you cannot. And as an AI, you cannot just have security and not compliance. You cannot have like compliance without security or efficiency. They all go hand in hand, and you actually need to look at all three of them to get to trustworthy, reliable AI that you can then have out in production without being harmful to your company or to whoever you're serving.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Let's break down the platform itself. What are the core features of HikmaAI? And along with that as well, can you walk us through how an enterprise team would actually use it on a day-to-day?
So at this moment, I've mentioned our core pillars, and we are a startup, so we have an MVP, which allows companies to evaluate agents. We are also platform agnostic, so it doesn't matter how your agent is built, which is the framework, or where it's operating. We can actually evaluate all agents, and that also makes us very unique. I just want to talk a little about the vision, because I think it's important for enterprises to also understand where we're going. And that is, at this moment, we're reactive. That is that you can either assess an agent you would like to put out to production, or an external agent you would like to buy in, or agents you actually have in production. In the future, we would like to be much more proactive, in the sense that our intelligence will be embedded into the client's environment to make sure it's only operating inside their sphere. What that allows us to do is also to couple ourselves into their CI/CD pipelines, GitHub or Jenkins, or wherever they're operating, and also give them an advanced like knowledge. So we would do continuous monitoring at that point. We would instantly know if an agent is going down at a level in security and compliance. We stop that agent instantly for them. So they tell us at which threshold they want it to be. And then we give them like a text or a Slack message or Teams or wherever they're operating. We tell them we actually stopped this agent. Please find the full report. How we're doing that today is that, so we are a no-code platform. Everyone can actually operate it. And you just log in with your Gmail or whatever mail you have, or your internal mail that you have in the company. You then upload your company details, so where you operate, because of compliance, as I said, your internal compliance documents, and then you just add your agent. And adding the agent is very easy. You put a name, you put where it's operating, as in which cloud provider, and then you also put in the endpoint of the agent. If it's an internal agent, we've done a cloud proxy that is encrypted, so you can also make sure to evaluate it there without us getting any information about the agent. We've also added in, so we will actually announce this. It will announce this week. So when this is out, we've also added in EU AI Act to just show the power of what we're building. So you will also be able to tell us if you want this agent to be evaluated for EU AI Act or not. EU AI Act is really interesting because it isn't a law that's like, this is the law. It's more about where is your agent operating, and then it becomes more and more severe. So if it's an external agent, it's very likely that you need to assess it for EU AI Act, because it tells you you cannot have, you cannot really interact without human in the loop with younger people and older people, right?
Yeah.
Once you add your agent, we then ask you, would you like a report to be generated? Once you say yes, that's when our magic starts working, and that's when we do the assessment of the agent. So then you go into the report section, and there you have a full detailed on your agent and a full breakdown. Shows you really clearly security, compliance, and efficiency, and where the critical findings are. And it really is super detailed about the findings. So if you click on critical findings, you get a breakdown. You can see each breakdown, and it also tells you what the problem is. Is it compliance? Is it security? Or is it efficiency? And also where in the code, like where in the level we found it. I don't know if I can share a screen, but if you want, I could do a quick demo, or whoever's listening, you can go into the website, and if you scroll down, there is a demo. It's a little speedy, but you can also just connect with us. So there is like booking a demo, and we can jump on a 30-minute call if you would like to see it. If you like to have a meeting and have a live discussion with myself.
There is a share screen button at the bottom if you wanted to show that quickly. It's up to you.
I could show it really quickly, and I think that would actually help. So let me just open up this one. There we have share screen. Amazing. Okay, so this is our platform. So HikmaAI, as I mentioned, you log in by just your mail. And when you come to this page, this is just the dashboard. This is to give you an example of how it's going to look. Of course, this will also evolve, but the interesting thing is the critical issues that are super important for you to understand instantly. You understand your worst performing agents, best performing agents, trending agents. This is really in your industry. So that was one of the things we also got asked about. Hey, how I would love to understand what other agents, other competitors, or other people in my industry are using.
Yeah.
You then go down to settings, which is really just your your name of the company, where you operate in which industry, because this also goes into compliance, as I mentioned. The compliance documents that you can upload that are internal to you, and then the private agent connector that we talked about. Here is where you upload an agent. So as I mentioned, we are a very no-code platform. So the only thing you do is add in your agent name, the agent region, because this is also important for compliance. And then this one is we're extremely proud of REST API custom. What this means is we can assess any agent today. And this makes us extremely unique to competitors today, because usually it is either OpenAI or Llama. This makes us this is the whole agnostic platform approach.
Mm-hmm.
Which cloud provider your agent is at, and then this is the EU AI Act that I talked about. So where do you want us to assess it or not for that, and which level are you seeing it at? The endpoint that you would like that your agent has, and then that's it. If you have any additional documents for this agent that you wanted to be assessed against. Once you upload the agent, you then have a report that is what I was stating, that really is where the magic happens. So if we click on one of the reports, let me just take a report that is that has a little more flaws. So we've done a lot of testing last days. We need to do a cleanup. Let's look at the sales agent here. You have when we did the assessment. So we actually would like to assess agents daily. That is the recommendations from a compliance point of view. And then we do a new report daily. So we'd always oversubscribe, like we would never oversubscribe this. We would always do a new one. That's why you saw a lot of reports.
Mm-hmm.
You also get the results here. So this is like a summary of the key findings that we did for this agent, why it matters, and also what you need to do. So our recommendations of what you need to do in order for this not to be as riskful, you could say. You then have the breakdown of security, compliance, and efficiency, as I was talking about. If you click on critical findings, you get a super good detailed view of what's going on and how we found that. So OWASP is a framework that is very used in the agent space. So we also give you, like, we found one of the prompt injections and sensitive information disclosure as one of the critical findings. You get a summary of what this means and the impact it has, if it's legal or security or whatever it is. And then you get a recommendation of what you need to do in your organization or whoever it is to make sure that this critical finding moves from critical to not critical. And then you also get what is it that we did? So how did we find this? And what's the response we got back?
Mm-hmm.
You can also then download this report and get it in a PDF, and then you can send it over to whoever you would like in the organization or external. So for instance, one of our pilots actually was using an external chatbot, and they had a lot of problems. They loved this tool because one, they had like a junior QA engineer who was daily manually assessing this agent with 100 prompts that they had internal with the compliance that we saw. So he loved it. Second, they could then send this report to that external company and tell them, can you fix this, or do we need to look at another vendor, as an example?
Yeah.
So this was really quickly on how it works today. So this is actually something you could use today. We'd love it if you want to contact us and get a free trial on it. We also have chat with Hikma. So Hikma is our agent, and then you actually could ask it in real time. So this is an NLP chat window, and you can ask it in real time about your report and get real answers.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shona. Yeah, no, I think that looks fantastic. I love the whole sort of user interface as well. It looks quite straightforward to use, which I always think is important. So how does your approach then avoid the pitfalls of black box AI deployments that many companies struggle with today?
Our approach is, so as there's a term in security called shift left, which is something that happened in the last 10 years, which is if you look at how we built software 10 years ago, we would look at security after math, right? Now we actually have security in design. So before we even start implementing something in tech, we look at, is this secure enough or not? That's how we see HikmaAI. So we would like HikmaAI to become part of development cycles. So as engineers or as companies start looking at AI, they need to think about, how do we build responsible AI by design? So if you think about how our tool helps companies, it gives them that trust, because you're not having the black box anymore. You actually understand what's going on with your agent, what it's doing, and if it is secure, compliant or not. And that's how companies can feel comfortable. I'll give you an example. Like one of the customers we work with, they've had a problem because marketing want to use an AI agent, and they've been asking for an AI agent for 6 months now. And IT and compliance department is telling them they need to wait because they need to assess the agents that they would like to use. And it's taking over 6 months, and they still are not allowed to use the agents.
Yeah.
With our tool, so when they got to understand our tool, the head of IT actually said, oh, I really would like this, because then he feels more comfortable, because it's his reputation. Like if he would deploy an agent that marketing uses that all of a sudden would leak sensitive information publicly, that is such a big impact as a brand, but also as him as a head of IT or CTO. That's not allowing them to move at the speed they would. With
Yeah.
our tool, he could then have assessed that marketing agent very quickly, but he also can assess it daily to make sure that I feel comfortable with you guys using the agent without me having to do this 6 months assessment. So it's time saving, but it's also assurance that is helping companies. How I would like companies to use it in the future is always use it. So if it's an agent that any department would like to use, assess it before you put it out to production, and then assess it always in production. Why you need to continuously monitor agents is because generative AI is like a human being. It's a brain and it learns. So you give it new information, it learns from that, and then it adapts. And that's what we're seeing also. So one of the things we do is multi-thread, super important. And that is that we actually attack the agent and we have back and forth discussions with it. Because these agents are getting very smart and they know how to reply if you just ask it once. So all of this is evolving. We believe a lot in research. Both me and Mara, we have engineering backgrounds. So we actually work a lot with researchers as well. And we're looking into bringing in a really strong researcher in the team because we want to be the fourth runner in this space. And we want to also make sure that whatever's coming new is in our platform in order for us to make sure that we're always one step ahead.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. We touched upon the compliance aspect and stuff earlier, and I feel like it'd be good to sort of delve into that in a little bit more detail. When you talk about compliance, what are the biggest regulatory challenges that AI teams are facing right now?
So I think it is the speed at what regulations is coming at. So regulations is coming pretty fast. And I would say, like having worked at Spotify in compliance and infringement, I would say that I'm also seeing law and regulations actually taking less time to decide on regulation frameworks. That means that there's a stress involved if you're, as I mentioned, either if you're a CEO or if you're an executive or you're head of IT, how do you make sure that you're actually following the compliance that's coming into place and that it is followed? So one of the things I talk a lot about is, for instance, GDPR. I would say most of the AI tools today do not follow GDPR because I've never been asked if it's okay for them to store my information. And if I reference to my husband in ChatGPT or Gemini, it actually replies back and it knows his history without me have told it that it's okay for it to save it. Like that's one aspect of GDPR, right?
Yeah.
When we have agent-to-agent framework and agents are going to talk to each other, how will we make sure that the information that they are giving to each other is stored in a correct manner? Like all of this is some questions that are there. That is like, how do we make sure of this? But also, when you look at an agent, let's say a chatbot. So you and I have a company, Aaron. We are a 1,000-man company. We're an enterprise. We bring in an agent that is going to communicate with as a customer support agent, right? Like you have, I think it was Trivago, the hotel booking site. They had an agent that they deployed. What happened was that a user used that agent and got recommendations for a hotel that led to him paying more than if he had actually done the search himself. He brought this to court and he won because they promised, like the agent promised, that this is the lowest rate that he could find a hotel in the city. Because how will you ever be able? Are you going to have a full-time employee assessing this agent daily? And this is what's becoming problematic with compliance. The other thing that's problematic is also internal compliance, as we talked about. It's extremely problematic because if you look at tools and frameworks out there, they are addressing compliance. So as soon as a new law comes in, they try to obey to that. Like if you look at Gemini, I think Gemini, in my opinion, is the one that's strictest, and also Claude. Usually it's actually answering, I can't even answer this, and you can't move ahead. But it doesn't know internal policies. So this is becoming problematic as well, because how will you make sure that the agent you have is following compliance and also internal policies if it's not designed by the external company? And also, how do you make sure to do it in an efficient manner? Because if you have to hire 2-3 people doing this daily, it's not efficient anymore. So it's a balance about efficiency, cost, and what are you getting back? How we
Absolutely.
look at it is we want to be. So I was talking to like another AI interested person in the space the other day, and I was talking also about like, do you as a company let loose, or do you have extreme guardrails where you're seeing these roles as head of AI or director of AI, and then you have AI governance committees at big companies. And if I, as an engineer, want to use, for instance, Cursor, I need to submit the request to the governance committee, and then 6 months later, I get a reply. How I design things is because, so I have an engineering background, as you know, and I like to look at things in a platform and flexible manner. So what HikmaAI allows you to do is to allow everyone to assess agents and daily continuously evaluate them, so they can then move faster. As in, okay, if you want to use this agent, assess it first, get okay, and then go ahead and put it to production and assess it daily. So you're reducing the time for evaluation 6 months to a week or two. How we want to be proactive as well when it comes to laws and regulations is that when a law has taken place, I would like our platform to be able to tell the customer this law has taken place, as in, for instance, EU AI Act. If I assess your 100 agents that you're using today in production, 20 of them will actually be vulnerable to EU AI Act. I have broken down a plan for us and how we're going to go about it. So we actually are hitting the timeline of 1 year from now, and we don't have to worry about that law or regulation like falling in place.
Amazing.
And that's how we want to work with our customers, to make them aware of this and help them in this journey.
Yeah, no, for sure. So are you seeing a divergence in adoption between regulated industries like finance or healthcare versus other verticals?
Extreme, if I'm honest. That's like not just healthcare and banking and finance. I think one that a lot of people neglect is automotive. The automotive industry. Also, if you look at travel, so also in the aviation industry, extreme regulation.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a lot of missed speed. And I mean, if I was an executive in these industries, I actually would be stressed, and some of them are stressed, because you're also hearing big tech companies, for instance, the CEO of Salesforce has been very vocal. If you see that, he's been very vocal in their efficiency, and that they are 30 to 50% more efficient with AI. He also, don't quote me on this, maybe he didn't say it, but I did read an article on LinkedIn stating that he said that he's excited for the cuts. I think excited was a wrong word. But so they've had cuts and they've let go of 2,500 people. And what he's stating is that they're more efficient, even with 2,500 people less, because of AI. So imagine if you work in one of these regulated industries and you're hearing that tech companies are really running ahead of the curve with a speed you've never seen before. Like before, they were ahead because they managed to get extremely good talent. They managed to have really good revenues, which allowed them to get good talent. Now you have good talent, but you also have the speed of the technology that they also know better. As in how you operate with AI and how you think about AI in your daily systems and technology, they also have an upper hand because tech is so near their heart. And that's becoming a problem because they are running so fast ahead. But then they also have the problem with startups that are AI driven by design. So they've actually built their platform with AI in mind. These will be moving at a faster speed in a couple of years. And we're going to see change that I don't think we've seen before. And this is, of course, making these verticals very stressed because they know they need to use it, but they just cannot let it loose because there's too much regulation in place and too much brand damage in place to do that.
Yeah, for sure. You've said before that trust in AI needs to be earned. What does that look like exactly in practical terms?
I think it's not like, if you think about trust, what does trust mean? Like, trust is something that comes a little bit with time. Like it's also a personality thing. Like when I hire someone, I actually go in and I always trust the person until they prove me otherwise. You have others that look at it the other way around. But of course, before I hire someone, we have an interview process. We tell them this is our company, this is the law and regulations we have in place, this is the internal policies. So we have that training and onboarding, you could say. And then we feel that now you can do the best. So as an employee, I have an employee that I can depend on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the word we're looking for in AI. How do we get to the stage where we feel that we have done an onboarding that's good enough? We understand what the AI does. We understand that it can do the task I'm asking for. It is secure, it is compliant. But then at the end of it, it's also, we can depend on it to do the task that we want it to do. And all of that encompasses in what we call trust. And going back to that again, you need to look at it as an employee. So how I look at AI is, if you are not starting to visualize your org chart with AI, you're falling behind. As in, you need to be able to look at it. Okay, here's the CEO, here's the C-level. Under CTO, we have these teams. In each team, there's these AI agents. Under agent is an agent, because that's how you're also building agent frameworks today. You're not just having one agent do everything. It's too slow. So you have one coordinating agent, and under it, you have several agents. So when it comes to that, as in trust, it encompasses all of this. And that goes back to continuously evaluation and having that insight to assure you that I'm seeing this agent as any employee in my core systems and in my organization that I depend on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Finishing up with just a couple of quick questions then. Where is this space going? What excites you or even scares you most about, the AI arms race we're witnessing globally?
I mean, I think what excites me is I like technology. I like disruptive technology. I like innovation. And that's exciting because this is a technology, as I mentioned, that I think will be more disruptive than anything we've ever seen. With that, of course, comes responsibility. So I think the word responsible AI is important, because if we let AI loose too much and we don't understand how we've built it and what it's doing, it can encompass a lot of problems further down the line. Not just for us, but also for our environment, the people around us, in a way.
For sure.
What scares me, I think there's already been talks a lot about how is it going to look in the future, when about, some people say 70, some people say 95% of jobs are taken. I think that number is going to vary from country and industry because, again, of AI adoption. How fast do you adopt AI, and how fast can you rely on AI to do what a human being does and then let that role fade away in a way? I am of a person that think the impact will be bigger than people think. So I know there's a lot of talks also that says that we will have these roles get demolished, but we will have new roles coming out. Some of these roles will actually not happen because you will have AI replace those roles as well. And it's going at a speed, which is, if you're becoming what they're calling you a prompt engineer, I can tell you for sure AI can prompt better than you. So I even use that, right? I asked Gemini and ChatGPT, I would like to do this visual on Midjourney, give me a prompt, because Midjourney is so hard to prompt. It does it better than me. And if I then put a half year to learn it, why am I even doing that, right? So I think that's something that I definitely think about. I mean, I have a son as yourself, and I think it's interesting when we talk about the schools or uni, and I always remind my husband that all of these discussions are really unnecessary at this point, because we don't know what's going to happen when they get to that stage.
For sure.
I think I'm also an optimistic person. I don't think the world will end and everyone's going to get depressed. I'm honest. I just think we will find ways to do so. But I do think there will be a slight, you could say, downtrend until we find that adoption. A little like we did back in the days, right? We're going to see that. So if you see, we went from farming to industrial revolution to then now technology revolution, and then we have the AI journey ahead of us. And it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. And there's all talks about utopia, and we're going to have abundantness, which is that we're going to be able to just get food whenever we want because energy is not going to be a problem. We're going to have AI that's going to farm for us, so we could just sit in our house and talk to an AI agent to tell it, hey, I would like to have 3 bananas, 2 apples, and then it's just going to come home to us, right? At which speed this is going to happen is interesting to see.
Yeah.
But going back again, I don't want to be in that world if I don't believe that the AI we're creating are responsible by design.
Absolutely.
Because it could be so harmful to the point where we will be affected as human beings.
Yeah, no, 100%, completely agree. It'd be nice though to all be able to live a life of luxury and just AI do everything, but providing it's responsible, of course. Yeah. Lastly, for those that are interested in HikmaAI and want to get involved, what's next for them? How can they do that? And also, are there anything exciting coming up for you guys in terms of partnerships, launches, or on the roadmap that people should look out for?
Yeah, so we actually, if you are either, we have a partnership program that's very exciting. We also have, like if you are an enterprise or a company, like a company who would like to use our platform, you can reach out. The partnership program is very interesting. So just touching base on that really quickly. So we have a partnership program for companies who would like to partner with us with the technology we have that you could say serve a purpose in how they operate. So one example of one of the partnerships we have is a pretty big consulting firm in MENA and Asia, and they help companies with their AI stack, so their full AI stack. And they have a strong partnership with us because they when they saw our platform, they're like, okay, this is amazing because then we can use it to make sure that what we're deploying and what we're telling the companies to use is responsible by design. And then we have a nice rev share for them as well as a strong partner. Amazing. We also have integrators. So this was something that just came about. So we had a pretty enterprise sales agent company who reached out because they wanted to embed our intelligence into their platform. So that would mean that it's an API first approach, which is where we're going in the future. And then we also have a partnership with them. It's a little bit other partnership because we integrate our technology into their UI, and it's only the backend that's used for our intelligence. And the third one is if you are a company or if you're an enterprise that would like to try this tool in order for you to understand what's about and get that assurance and trust for your agents, just go into our website and click on Get Demo, and we will reply within 24 hours and book in a call with you. You can also reach out to me. I mean, I'm the only Nibras Stiebar-Bang in the world, so you find me on LinkedIn. What's coming in the future? A lot of super exciting things. We've just got started. So in the future, we are working in a roadmap towards the API first approach, which will then allow us to get embedded into the company's environments, but also allow us to open source part of the platform and tap into the development community. So both me and Mauro, we believe a lot in the development community. I love open source software as well because it allows so many people to get alongside a mission towards a goal in a way. What's coming in the near future is I just mentioned EU AI Act that you got a glance of in the demo, so that's coming. You also saw the NLP chat that's actually been released this week as well, so that's coming. And then a lot more features. So you saw the REST API that you got a sneak peek of as well, which is extremely huge for us and for the industry. So that's in the short term, but in the long term, we are working towards this proactive approach and getting our intelligence that we've built embedded into like clients' environments, because we believe that's going to be extremely powerful and helpful for the companies we work with.
Amazing stuff. Thanks so much, Nibras. This has been, brilliant. Really insightful discussion and insight into HikmaAI. Responsible AI isn't just a buzzword. Obviously it's fundamental in the need of these systems that you're building and we're all building for the future. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. For anyone wanting to learn more, head to HikmaAI.io and follow Nibras and our team on LinkedIn. I will share some links in the details below and also in the comments of the posts that we put out on socials. Of course, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Web3 Insights podcast on YouTube and Spotify for more conversations like this one. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Have a good day. Bye.